Look at this new water bottle. Kind of shady.
Uh-oh. Welcome back. We really welcome you back after taking a week off last week for the 3M. Don't worry, we're going to recap that to see what the heck happened on a final day. We welcome you back to Putting for Dough, Drive for Show, Putt for Dough. That's the name of it really across the board here. Cashing tickets is what we do on this show. So Ben Rasa at JazzRazDFS, at Stacks Teddy for me. Chris is producing. So we only ask a little bit, right? Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed. And of course, you want to hit the notification bell so you never miss when Putting for Dough and so much more content drops here on the OddsChecker channel. Rasa, we're back in the house. We've got Detroit, the Rocket Mortgage Classic to look at, minus Ricky Fowler, I'm sure. So first and foremost, hopefully you enjoy your time off.
I did. I went to Saratoga, bet the ponies, sweated out the Open Championship, and then I was on my way back. So apologies for not being at the 3M. Okay. We did almost miss Griot week, which would have been crazy ironic because I always bet Griot. Tony Finau, I was 1 week early. I picked him to win the Open Championship. He looked good on that Sunday. Yep. Favorite, Tony Finau punches that ticket. I was pretty happy with the 3M. I know you were sweating some things out last week as well.
Yeah, it just a couple of top 20s, top 40s that we played. We had Garnett as a long shot. We had Brendan Steele as part of the long shot column now that we're putting out on Odd Shop Region every Monday. That's up today, of course, as well. Didn't even make the cut. But, you know, Maverick McNeely continued to disappoint me. I put all that aside, because what's hard to ignore about the final day is what it took for two guys who have been either disappointing or ghosts as far as Finau and Im respectively here, where it was one of the more epic collapses with Piercy just to open that thing up. So Finau gets the victory, can't take that away from him. Im finishes second, but come on, Rasa, the circumstances around this tournament last week were pretty crazy.
It was for a course that I thought was going to play pretty easy. There was a lot of danger out there, and we saw that with big numbers. Yeah. Scott Piercy, who I'm not the biggest fan of, I can't get him right. He gained 9 strokes putting. It was a true outlier week for him, and he had his chance to win the tournament, and he was kind of melted on Sunday to some of the bigger names. So all in all, take it. We see this. The Rocket Mortgage and the 3M have a lot of parallels in that there's a few big names, but if it's not one of them, it's wide open for the betting markets. And I like talking about stuff like that.
I think that's a great way to kind of correlate what we're doing here across the board from week to week. But there's also just anything that you can look at individually, maybe specifically from the 3M in that kind of backdrop, Ben, of knowing that there are only a handful of big names and there's a wider field. So maybe there is somebody, and we'll talk about individuals. We'll hit the board. First, we have to tell everybody about this BetMGM promo, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Like maybe there is something specific we can take from 3M across the board here now to the Rocket Mortgage. But look, we're doing this with BetMGM. You can see below here, it's for you. This is the promo. All of us have already used this. So I keep telling you on all these VODs that you see me on, anything with Rasa, Sharp Play of the Day on the OddsChecker channel and more, we've all used this. This is now just for you. So maybe you know people who haven't taken advantage of the link below. Bet $10 after you sign up at BetMGM. Deposit that 10, right? Bet it on any baseball game. Win or lose, it's $200 right back into your account. You can do that right now. Bet on any baseball game as soon as you're done watching this video, and then apply that free money. Again, Rasa Sharp Play, all the VODs we have, this video here as we'll build the ticket. I don't know how much more outside of Ben telling people that they can be like the hero of the group if other people don't know about it, and maybe spread the word.
Got to spread the word. Yeah. I mean, we've obviously seen a ton of people take advantage of this, and that's awesome, but a lot of people still haven't. And before football season, which is rapidly approaching, the time would be now. So it's very, very exciting. Super easy. As you mentioned, it doesn't matter what the thing I like about this, and we'll get into the golf in a second. It doesn't matter if you win the bet. That's the best part. It's sweat free. Like if you bet a baseball team and they lose 20-0, you're getting $200 for that that massive effort that your team, if you bet the Red Sox the other night when they gave up 30 runs, you still get your $200.
That's amazing, isn't it? They did give up 28, was it?
Yeah, that was
28
bad.
to 5.
Very bad.
I had over 10.5 and people
Well,
were laughing at me. They were laughing at me, Ben. All right, so let's look at the Rocket Mortgage. Detroit Golf Club's been around for over 100 years, but this event 3 years young. And we've seen a couple of different types of golfer, if you will, win this event over the course, including Bryson, who's gone long. One of the three that won't be there, the other two will. But just looking at this thing, 73, nearly 7,400 yards, right? It does play shorter. We've seen these par fives get reachable in 2. We've also seen par fours under 400 yards. So there are a couple of things you may want to look at overall. For me, it's going to be wedge. And that's kind of what I wrote about earlier today on a long shot, trying to identify guys who are really good with the stick from like 150 in. But how you view this course, you specifically, I think is going to be telling on how you build your card right up there at the top.
No doubt about it. And you mentioned the point that I was going to make as well. It's a small sample, but historically what we've seen here in Detroit, a lot of different types have won. The Cam Davises of the world who are just crazy scoring, very, very aggressive. And then some more technical players, whether like Ryan Armour and Kevin Kisner and Adam Hadwin are guys that have been in the top 5 in some of these years. They don't resemble a bomber in any way. So I like that. It gives you a lot of different types of players. And then you always have to recognize field strength of how many big names in here, Patrick Cantlay and Tony Finau, Will Z, Cam Young types. How much opportunity cost do we have to survive before we get to the mid-range? Because those are serious names, not the most prolific winners, but no doubt, as we saw last week with Tony Finau, they're the best players in the field.
Right. And I think there's always going to be, and this is something that you've preached week in, week out. It works, especially when you have guys at the top, where we'll start here with your play. But it's not just about identifying who can win. Anybody in the top with a big name who's got that resume this year has a shot in a weak field, but identifying the value, if it's shopping or if it's simply looking at the group of where your top guy may be. So why don't you start at the top of the board for us?
Yeah, so top of the board, nothing really stood out from Cantlay to Tony to Will Z. If you like one of them, I think very reasonable.
Yeah,
I'm going to go to Cam Young first, 18-1, obviously looking for the win. And him and Will Z have been so close so many times. But to me, Cam Young, we're starting to really identify what's going on. And when it's calm conditions and he can lean off the tee, the guy's unbelievable. And we saw that at the Open Championship. He rebounded off 2 missed cuts at the US Open and the Scottish Open, which were torture chambers, to come in second. He should have won. Everyone talks about Rory. Cam Young missed a ton of putts as well. Yeah, this guy has been absolutely fantastic off the tee. 4.6 at Heritage, 6.1 at Wells Fargo, 7 strokes gained off the tee at the PGA Championship. He is going to dismantle this course. If we get the putter synced up, there's no reason to me that Cam Young can't notch that first victory. It's coming sooner rather than later.
So this is, and I think where you begin with Cam Young is a very interesting dynamic, because it's one that I'm dealing with. And you mentioned if the putter kind of clinks. And look, you could make that argument for pretty much everybody here except Denny McCarthy. Now, others, I kid. But point being is that we look at this course, I think, as if you can stick second shots, especially if you can get off the tee like Cam can from a power and distance standpoint on par fives. If you're looking at either high irons or simply your wedges, and it's about putting the ball in really opportune scoring chances, you can mitigate the putting. And I think you can, for other guys who maybe aren't bombers that we'll talk about, I'm sure, throughout this show, you can mitigate not really getting off the tee as long if in fact you're dealing with the shorter par 4 and just being deadly with your wedge, 150, 175, even if you want to extend it. So that's where I think a guy like Cam Young can, I don't want to use the term easily, but maybe in an easier fashion, kind of mitigate your and others' concerns with the putting stick to say, all right, well, look, dangerous from that second shot can do a lot.
Of course. And the point I'll make, and then I want to hear about where you're going at the top. Putting is putting, and it's so high variance. I said earlier in the show, Scott Piercy just gained 9 strokes putting in an event. He's one of the worst putters I've ever seen. You can't do that off the tee. Somebody that's weak with the driver can't just be like, oh, I got hot and I started driving at 330 yards. It doesn't work like that. Cam Young's best skill set is so much more likely to be replicated, and the putter is just wildly variant. So I like that situation for him. I think he sets up really well, but there are other names, even if you dodge the big three up top, that I could get on board with.
So mine is Max Homa, and he's been the top 20 guy. Well, look, I think here, though, if you look at 22-1 as a number that's out there for a guy in Max Homa, and you mentioned the top three. Look, Tony Finau comes off that win last week, and I think that does a lot to validate what's been talked about him from a positive light. But again, it's hard to ignore the circumstances surrounding it. I don't necessarily think that I'm going to fade any type of major momentum. I'm just saying in general, look, for me, Max Homa pops up, strokes gained approach. Max Homa pops up, strokes gained putting, especially over his last 36 rounds. Yet we saw a miscut. We saw just kind of recent struggle. And it's easy, especially from a betting standpoint on a smaller tournament like this with less big names. I think it's easy to forget how dominant of a stretch he had, at least just making cuts top 20. So going Max Homa, anything north of 20-1, I think is a good value play just on the number and based on the fact that you can make an argument you could extend this top 3, top 5, top 7 names, and Homa is certainly in that.
When I think about Cam Young, I see a lot of Max Homa or vice versa, because they're both young guys, and Max Homa is a double winner at Wells Fargo. The Genesis, Fortnite, like, you see it. He gets hot with the putter and he combines it with really dangerous off the tee, and he's good with the irons. He's just got an all-around game when he's firing on all cylinders. I think that his big step is, can he make strides in majors? Yeah. We'll see next year, because that's not this. He's won these tournaments 22-1. I'll say this. I do like Cam Young, but you've got a proven winner, and I've got a guy searching for his first win. And that definitely is a check mark in your column over mine, because Max Homa's done it. He's done it several times on tour, a proven winner that continuously is raising trophies.
Yeah, and look, we've seen this with Finau last week, where you have the Pierce, you have guys who are not normally in that spot in big events, and it's easier to golf is golf. And I say that because anybody who shoots 160 to 75 knows that the variance in the sport alone, especially when you're playing at a professional level, the less you're in these positions at the top, the more often you're probably prone at least to screwing the hell up. So Homa could simply just be there. And I don't think that's a strong betting strategy by any means, but we just saw that in a weak field last week. All right, so from Cam Young, Max Homa, we'll go mid-range. I'm curious to see how deep we both go. 40, 20, 10 is in play as well. But look, Rasa is a part of this, one of our league leaders here when it comes to the sharp minds in the betting business inside the Stochastic crew. So what we want you to do is just be a part of this betting Discord. It's awesome. You're going to get premium picks from Ben Rasa, Steve Buzzard, Alex Baker, all three of these guys. And you're going to have the ROI tracker. You're going to be able to get alerts, text alerts. I get them sometimes even when we're recording. Here's a K-prop from the boss man that Baker likes tonight. So whatever it may be, Rasa's all over the place. And I mean that in a good way. Like, you never know what you're getting from Ben Rasa. Wait until the basketball tournament odds come up. But it's just an easy, quick link. Sign up, and then bang, Ben, you're part of this awesome thing.
Can't find those TBT lines, but everything else.
Trust me, I'm trying.
And I will say, we're actually going to be, I'll tease the people a little bit. We're going to be expanding the Discord package. We've got some really cool plans.
Sweet. As
we roll into football. You're going to see a lot of new faces, a lot more things. Eytan, obviously, you're going to be heavily involved. So we got a great group in there, and it's only getting better.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, you're going to have to kick me out at stuff. I mean, at this point here. All right, let's go to the mid-range. Take it away. We know that this could vary as far as what an actual mid-range number is, but it's our show and we'll make the rules.
Damn right we will. I'm sticking with Cameron Davis. I bet him last week. I really like that spot for him. He came in 16th, plus 7.5 tee to green. He gained 0 with the putter. That was the difference. He could have been in the thick of it. Why not go back to him at the place that he won? He won this tournament at Rocket Mortgage, and he was great. Now, he rode a crazy short game that week, but Cam Davis is a absolutely outrageous scorer. He can go crazy low. He attacks the par fives,
Yeah.
And we have seen time and time again, particularly with guys that aren't that top tier, you see repeat winners because these guys get to attract. KH Lee comes to mind. He goes to the same spots and he thrives. Why not Cam Davis at Rocket Mortgage, 33-1? Sign me up. I think he's live to win this event again.
33-1. Is that just the benefit of shopping there, or is this something that's maybe reactionary? Like initially, if you were to just give me the name and the number was not there and I had to blindly guess, I would probably think he'd be more to like a 25-1.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with it, and it's kind of a weird middle tier because on one hand, it's like the guy's won once on tour, and we're betting him like inside 50-1 even. But when you really look at this field, if it's not one of the guys that we've mentioned, everyone else is kind of in this tier. So I'm very comfortable with it, and he's the only guy that can say this. He's done it at this course, and I think it's a great fit for him long term. I don't know why that would change this year.
All right, give me your other mid-range guy, and then I'll hit you with one before we go long.
So this is just a guy that I want to mention, and he's been a very popular name for everyone in the DFS streets. Chris Gotterup, we still don't know how good he really is. He made a miracle cut at the 3M last week, and then he really started to climb. Plus 7.5 tee to green. Once again, he lost 3 strokes putting. If the putter and the tee to green sink, we saw it at John Deere. He came in 4th. He's 66-1 still. If you believe that he's as good as it seems, you're not going to see 66-1 in these type of fields for much longer. So I think he's worthy of consideration.
Yeah, it was a name that popped up. Was it last week? I know it's been a week off that we had. I think it was Gotterup last week that popped up. Maybe it was the Open as like a sexy long shot, but I don't think anybody had it in ours. But again, he popped up. So glad to see that you brought him back. 66-1 is definitely huge. Also, looking at this, I know you are distracted by that latest Slack message you got from Chris that has nothing to do with our show.
I am a multitasker.
I know. All right, let me hit you.
I could be watching tennis out of my left eye. You wouldn't know.
You could be. No, but it was of such magnitude, the news that you got, that I figured it was at least going to stagger you for a half a second. But no, all the other stuff that you're prepared for, you can split your eyes and pay attention. All right, let me give you 55-1 long shot here, mid-range, I guess, technically, Russell Henley. And I'm predicating this, at least, starting off on one thing, 150 yards and in. He's better than everybody in the field when you look at it statistically with a wedge in his hand. So with the higher or increased scoring chances that you're going to get from that range, 150 or so and in, Russell Henley just needs to keep it somewhat within range off the tee. Doesn't need to blast it per se, because of being in that range with either a higher iron, in this case, the wedge. And you start to look at anything else he can do. 3rd on tour strokes gained approach the green, 18th strokes gained tee to green, and strokes gained around the green, 23rd overall strokes gained total. Now, the issue, of course, has been distance off the tee and putting. But again, when you're so deadly with the wedge and get to do it more often than normal, that's why Russell Henley just seemed like a better play than 55-1, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who can get insanely hot with the putter. We've seen him win a couple of times on tour, and he's had 3 wins on tour. In 2 of them, he gained 12 strokes putting, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. He's been bad lately. There's no doubt. Since the Masters, nothing inside the top 40. My biggest worry or pushback is that he's a Bermuda splits guy. He's most likely to explode putting on Bermuda. This is not Bermuda, but there's no doubt that if his off the tee game gives him a chance, he's very dangerous with the irons. He's a proven winner, and he's in a very reasonable range. I mean, you're shopping Russell Henley or Scott Stallings, Russell Henley or Taylor Pendrith. I think I'm going Russell Henley in this range. For me, Gotterup is in that discussion as well. You've got Gary Woodland, but I see how you got there.
Okay, so let's go to long range. And again, you're right. The inconsistencies with the putter, when we've seen it hot, that's definitely something that can aid him. So I'm trying to identify somebody who has a metric or something working for him to help mitigate an issue that may be hurting him, or at least not up to par. With that said, and I think this is where I'm just prefacing that with the long shots here. All right, why don't you hit me first? I only have one as well, so this is really deep diving. But outside of about 5 guys at the top, this is anybody's weekend here.
It certainly is. And there's a million names that you could go to. I've tried so many times, and everyone knows this. Patrick Rodgers, my man, 80-1. I've seen this time and time again with him. I always think he's going to win. I say Patrick Rodgers, you literally leave the show. So now I see what we're dealing with here. He's been runner-up at John Deere, runner-up at Arson, runner-up at Wells Fargo. Now that's a span of like 7 years worth of data, but we know he can do it. He's an elite putter at times, and he combines that with off the tee. When I look at Patrick Rodgers at 80-1, it's the type of bet that I think that there's still a chance. He reminds me of Luke List, where everyone's like, oh, he's just never going to win on tour. I still think he has a very reasonable chance to finally get one. And it's going to be this type of event if he ever does do it.
Okay. 80-1. Reasonable long shot odds. I like
nothing
it.
crazy.
No. What I have is crazy. So that
I didn't even
works.
look at what you have, honestly.
Well, Hadley falls into a category. It's like this really random.
I liked him last week.
Yeah, did you really?
Yeah, a little bit. Shout out to Geoff Ulrich. Did the Tuesday show with him, and he was really big on Chesson Hadley, and he looked good. He came in the top 10, and it could have even been better.
So if you just look at guys who are really good from 150 and in, we talked about that, gaining birdies on the tee as well, strokes gained off the green, right? Or on the green, pardon me. Strokes gained putting would be the proper term here, pardon me. There are only a couple of guys when you combine those two metrics, when you kind of look at those two areas that pop up. And again, I'm mentioning that this is a smaller focus, so therefore it's going to be a smaller middle of the Venn diagram. But you've got Homa, who we talked about, Webb, Hubbard. I don't know what happened to him with odds and stuff last week, but that's neither here nor there. Hubbard and Chesson Hadley. So at 180-1, you can point to putting and wedge play and say, this guy ideally steps into this tournament with this field as good as anybody in there with those two specific metrics. Now, if the guy hits the ball 100 yards to the right off the tee every time, or he's dog shit with like 2 or 3 holes with a 56 degree, then all bets are off. But that's why he's a $180-1.
Yeah, and it's definitely a number that you're going to want to shop across books, because it does wildly change. He prefers easy courses. He prefers calm conditions. He's a pretty good player. Obviously, he's got some holes in his game. If he didn't, he wouldn't be at these type of odds. Yep. So I get it. And I think that, again, he's the type of guy who was 5th at Travelers, 10th at the 3M, 10th at the John Deere. He's been flirting with it. Now, can he put it all together and win the event? Well, probably not. But even if you get him on that first page of the board getting into the weekend, I mean, you got to live with that at these type of odds.
Look, 180, 125-1, where it's current as we talk, in this range, you're going to get plus money for even a top 40 finish. We talk about ladders. That's an easy way to kind of transition 40, 20, 10, where the only rule is that you have to get plus money at the top 40 spot. But Chesson Hadley might just be an interesting top. He's not my guy this week, but he might be an interesting guy, not to ladder, but just to flat out play a top 40 if you can get there. So 40, 20, 10, brother, who you got?
I got an outrage. This is a good one, a real good one, actually. 40, 20, 10, and I'm getting pretty aggressive. Plus 275.
So close to 3-1 on your top 40?
On my top 40.
Oh my God. That's like my guy's top 10.
I know. And this guy, he's not a great player, but he's coming off a 26 last week at the 3M, where he gained 4.5 strokes on the approach. Cam Percy.
What is it with you and Cam? Seriously.
And
you know that
Cam never bet Cam Champ, and he's the only Cam Smith and Cam Champ are the moneymakers, and I go for the other 3, which is really, really disturbing. But Cam Percy is the type of player, he can get in the mix, and I'm asking for a top 40 here. He's made 3 of 4 cuts. He's got a couple top 10s on the year. And the thing that I like about him, it's been the putting woes for a while with him. He's always been a pretty good ball striker, and he cannot put it together on the greens. In 3 straight tournaments, he's been positive with the putter and positive around the green. If you give me that with Cam Percy, everything else is going to take care of himself. He prefers calm conditions. He prefers easy courses. He's not a good putter to begin with, but if he had a surface, it would be bent grass. Coming off a 26 at the 3M, nearly 3-1 on a top 40. He is going to be in the hunt to make the cut. If he makes that cut, he's got a shot here, and you're getting really good money on it.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore what you lay out as far as him just making the cut. And I think
That's all I'm asking.
Exactly. And at 275 of a return, that's a great find right there for a guy who has shown and should be hovering around that cut line. Look, I'm going to go to, there's two guys we can talk about this. I'm going to get the guy who actually has the better return and I think just overall better value. But it worked with Billy Horschel earlier this year. Talked about a guy who just had a connection, the horses for courses phrase that you hear, right? Somebody who just really loves and plays well at a specific spot. Troy Merritt at plus 110 as a top 40 2010 candidate now pops in. I wrote about him as well on the long shot. He was my honorable mention, getting him at like 66 to 1 to win it. I'm not going to flirt with that. Notice that I kind of reined it in here for you, Ben.
Dear
but
God.
Look, this is another guy, he and Kevin Kisner, who I'm going to talk about in their final card. They love this place. They have the history for this place. And Merritt, where you see 10th in the field in strokes gained total, just overall, he's one of 9 guys to finish top 25 multiple times in this tournament. And he's 33rd on tour strokes gained putting. So that combined with this history that we've seen for a guy in Troy Merritt, I, again, am playing Merritt to make the cut. That's it. And at plus 110, I can deal with that. And then I build to 2010. And if this guy finishes top 10, we're talking about some money here.
Troy Merritt is someone I will say, I'll have a betting video out tomorrow talking about some of my other bets that I might make. Troy Merritt's probably going to be in it. That's why you want to, by the way, subscribe to this very channel.
There you
and
go.
You always hit the like button to support us, but definitely subscribe because we have plenty of content across all the sports. One thing in golf that I want to say real quick, and I'm guilty of this too, is the guy has a horrible putting performance. And then people say like, oh, he putted so bad, you know, he's going to be better. Well, if he's an awful putter, probably not. What you want to look for is a guy that's a great putter that has a bad performance.
Yep.
Troy Merritt at the 3M lost 5.5 strokes putting. He's a phenomenal putter. This guy's been on tour for years. His worst putting performance ever on the tour was last week at the 3M. He gained 7 strokes tee to green and he lost 5.5 with the putter. He still made the cut. So Troy Merritt is going to bounce back with the flat stick. He had been positive strokes gained putting in 7 straight events before that.
Love that.
If you give me that, I am on board with Troy Merritt. He is someone that I'm glad you brought up because he's going to be on my card as well in some variety.
And I put him as my honorable mention for an outright winner for a long shot. See, in my long shot betting column, that's also up there on
I've bet him so many times in my life, and
nothing's happened.
No, nothing. I certainly didn't bet him at the Barbasol when he won. That was not the day that I bet him.
All right, final card, but final time. Let's remind everybody below what you can get here. Click the link. It's going to bring you to BetMGM, and you can just sign up. It's such an easy process. Deposit $10 upon sign up. Put that 10 on any baseball game and win or lose. That's how you know it's free. It doesn't matter the circumstances surrounding your bet here. Win or lose, $200 right back into your account. I mean, look, you can see that right there. The link is below. It's going to bring you right to BetMGM, and free money you can apply anywhere you want, especially for any PGA card that you want to build this week on putting for dough, pardon me, or betting for dough, right? Or any of Rasa's videos.
Why not?
We have. All right, final card. All right, build it. We got it. Chris is helping along. Who you have?
Oh, we got it. I'm going Cam, all the Cams. Cam Davis, Cam Young. You want to get crazy? Put in Cam Percy, Patrick Rogers, who, as I mentioned, of course, you must have to get up because you don't like Patrick Rogers. Gotterup's the type of guy that I think you can look to. But when I really hone in my card, I think up top, I'm really looking at Cam Davis and Cam Young for those outrights. And then I'm probably going to cast a pretty wide net for top 20s. If you go top 40s, some of these guys like Cam Percy, I think it's pretty far-fetched to say they can win the tournament. I mean, if you want to take a lotto ticket, sure, but don't just disregard them because they can get in the mix and they can be very profitable in that top 20, top 40 market.
All right, let me be short and sweet because I know you're going to have some reaction to this.
Probably.
But I've got 3 top 20s I'm playing. I told you about Troy Merritt. Kevin Kisner is the better example of familiarity and course history here. It's really difficult to ignore how successful he's been here, as well as some key metrics that are applying to him. I'm not going to go deep on that. That's all. But Kevin Kisner, top 20, along with Max Homa, who, again, at minus 110, where you can find him shot, but that's still, I think, in good value range for Homa. based on how successful that solo play has been, at least top 20. And last top 20 for me is Denny McCarthy. We talk about just strokes gained on the green. If you can get to 5-10 feet, that could be a difference maker, because a lot of guys are going to get to 5 to 10 feet from a birdie type putt. So I want somebody who is just locked in on the green. That's McCarthy. Russell Henley, I gave you outright 55-1, but just if you can give me like 15 seconds on somebody who I am going to just put a little bit on, and I'm probably going to have to put a little more to compensate for the number, but Patrick Cantlay should stand out way more than we've not even talked about him in this field. And I know that the value is not there, Ben, but if you just talk about overall body of work and best golfer in this field, doesn't he stand out like more than anybody 2 times over?
Yeah, he does. It hasn't been a great year for him in terms of locking down tournaments, but if you want to go with that route, I would wait, get his tee time, and maybe take him like first round leader, wire to wire, something a little more, because I'll be honest, even though he's the best player in this field, I'm not going to back him at 10-1. I'm just not going to do that. So I don't mind getting the Cantlay. You just got to make sure you try to do it where you're not giving up a little too much.
At JazzRazDFS for Ben on Twitter, at Stacks2X is Teddy for me. Thanks to Chris, as always, for producing. And thanks to you out there. Take advantage of that BetMGM promo. That's how we can give back, give you some free money. And what we ask in return, the thumbs up button here. Any comments you have, any leans. You don't need to be Lindy. I always say, Rasa, you don't need to be Lindy to have any leans or likes. We'll take anything you want here on this video, plus, minus, whatever you have here for this week at the Rocket Mortgage. And subscribe to the Odd Shopper channel. There's content coming out every single second of the day. Like, everybody on the channel is pumping stuff out. So we want you to subscribe. Ben, any final words before we hit it?
No, as always, stay tuned. A lot more content as the PGA season rolls on, and keep an eye out for college football and NFL coming fast and furious here.
Can't wait.
Only a month away. Cannot wait. A lot of value on the board, and we will certainly have you covered here at Odd Shopper.
See ya.